Hi there and welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through a 2023 Chapparal 298Rls. We are just going to start at the back of the unit here. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for an observation camera. So if you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact the parts department. They can put together a quote for you. You also have your ladder so you can get up to your roof so you can check all your seals periodically. Just keep a note if there is a ladder capacity out here. You do have a 2-inch receiver out back here, which will allow you to tow something behind you. Just keep in mind this 2-inch receiver, it's not really meant for a whole lot of weight. It's really just for bike racks. That's kind of it. I wouldn't be pulling anything heavy unless you had it reinforced. A little further back here, you got your main fresh tank drain. You just loosen off that cap. All the water is going to pour out of there, draining your fresh tank. So if you like to do that, that's how you do that. You're going to have one landing leg on either side, right behind that tire on both sides. Then you get your main 50 amp power cord inlet. Take a note of that strip there. It lines up with this strip on this side. You just line those guys up, push it in, 8th turn to lock it down, and then you got that threaded collar if you really want to lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 50 amp plug end. Now, a lot of campsites won't have this. So we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter for going down to 30 amps of power. But whenever you do go down to 30 amps of power, because this unit is equipped with 2 air conditioners, on 30 amps of power, you're only going to be able to run one at a time. So just be mindful of that. And then to go from the 30, we do also include a 15 amp park adapter so that you can go down to a standard household end if you don't have the 30 amp end. Just keep it in mind, again, when you go down to 15 amps of power, you have even less power, so you're not going to be running an air conditioner or anything like that. It really is just to run your fridge and your lights. You got your water heater service port here. Opening this guy up, you got a 1-inch drain nut right here, so if you put a 1-inch socket on there, loosen that guy off, that's what's going to drain your hot water tank. Whenever you first get to your campsite, just give this guy a pull. There should be a shot of water coming out of there letting you know that the tank's full. It's currently winter, so this unit is winterized, and that's why that water isn't coming out of there, so it wouldn't be safe to fire up. Coming down from there, you get your main sewer hose outlet. Just take a note of that notch there. It's going to be the same notches that your sewer hose has, and they just line up with those guys like so, and click and lock into place. Furnace exhaust, whenever your furnace is running, that's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Opening up this compartment here, you're going to notice you do have all your instructions to power your landing gear. And I'll run through it quick with you here. So this light switch right beside there I'm going to mention just turns on some nice accent lights right at the front of the trailer. So if you're hooking up at night or you just want to look cool, hit that switch. Power button turns this guy on. Should say ready. Hit your auto level. It's going to automatically level the unit. Nothing you need to do except keep the unit still. And then if you hold the retract button, it's going to automatically retract all the jacks at the same time. Now, if you do want to run things individually, you can either push front or push rear, and it's going to operate both front jacks and rear jacks individually, depending on which button you push. And you can also run the left and the right individually as well. But to do that, you're just having to scroll through your man. You got auto hitch as well. So if you go into auto hitch, it'll automatically lift the front of the trailer so you can slide your truck in. Auto retract all, I already went over that. Auto retract rear, same thing. Manual level, go into manual level mode, and that's when you can start operating each jack individually. And then you just get back to ready. So that's pretty much all you need to worry about there. You got your battery disconnect switch. So with that in the off position like so, the batteries are disconnected from the unit. If you were to turn it to the on position, the batteries become connected to the unit. You got your starter kit here. Inside that starter kit, you do get that 10-foot sewer hose, as well as a 15-foot water hose and just some other miscellaneous goodies. And then that 50 amp park adapter, which I already told you about. So you go from a 30 to a 15, but again, just be careful whenever you're using that because you're going down to less power. Coming to your water station, you got your little exterior shower with both hot and cold water. Nice little feature there. You got your winterization override. Thread your hose onto there, stick that hose into the pail of antifreeze, and that's what that would suck out of. And then you're going to notice you got these valves here. So we currently have that hot water heater bypassed because it's winterized. If you were to want it to put back into service so that the water flows to it, you just got to turn it to that water on. We currently have antifreeze in the line, so I'm not going to touch that right now. but that's how you would do that. And then right up here, it just gives you a legislation of how to use it properly. So with this up and this to the left, and of course your city water hookup, yes, it is the city water hookup, but it's only the city water hookup if you have these in line to do so. This is also for your fresh tank fill. And to fill that tank, you're just having to keep this one pointed up, turn this one to the left, and that'll be filling your fresh tank. Once your fresh tank is full, there is a little overflow hose coming out the bottom there. Once it starts overflowing, turn that water off. It's always good to keep an eye on the level inside as well while you're doing it. That way you don't get to that point, but if you do, it's not the end of the world. And then just following, again, these instructions to use the system. And then you got your 3 tanks. So you got 2 gray tanks. So you're gonna have a galley and a gray. Galley is gonna be just for the kitchen sink. The gray is gonna be for the sink and the shower and the bathroom. And then you have your body waste, which is your black tank. That's gonna be your dirtiest water. So that's gonna be the one you wanna empty first. As you can come behind that with the gray water, it just keeps that hose that little bit cleaner. You got your coax cable inlets here, and it does label which is for which is nice. You have a little light in case you were down here at night. There also is another light right here which you can turn on. And then you got 2 10-volt plugs, and if you're wanting to run a hose in here and not have this open, there's a little spot to do so just in the compartment. That's going to be it for this side here. Now you do have 2 propane tanks in this unit too. We're just going to be running off this one. You have the same one on the other side, 30-pound propane tank. Valve right at the top, opening up that slowly, just like your standard barbecue, and opening it up all the way. That way the full flow is entering into the trailer. Underneath at the front here, again, you do have another little docking light. You'd have to have the lights turned on inside, of course, to operate those. And then you have a front storage compartment here, which also houses your battery. And then you have your solar controller right up there on the wall. And then around the other side, you see that other propane tank, which I showed you. It's the same thing as the other side. And then inside here is just the other side of that storage compartment. It is a little bit bigger on this side, and you do have a couple satellite hookups if you wanted to do so in here. And then you have this little tool. This is the slide out manual override, and I'll show you that in a second. It's the same on both sides. 2 110 plugs here again. Now I'll just go over it right now. If you look underneath, you're gonna have this rod sticking out at the bottom here somewhere. Sorry, let me just, right here. So that's going to be to lower your spare tire. Sorry, it's not a slide out override, my bad. It is for your spare tire. Running this guy down to the ground, of course you have to undo the safety chain that holds it up first, and that would allow you to run that down to the ground. Little exterior kitchen. Popping that guy open. Opens on up, it is on assist struts. I do recommend maybe putting a strap on there because I'm a pretty taller guy and I have a hard time reaching it once it's fully open. Once you get inside here, this customer did opt to mount a TV backer. Nice little feature, so you can mount a TV in here. You also have the 2 plugs and satellite hookups. Light switch hooks on, turns on some lights inside here, and this one's on its own center push button. You got your mini fridge, which is 110 only. It won't work on 12 volt. Little slide out tray, and then you got your little exterior grill area. Sliding that guy out. Nice little grill. Just having to come underneath here. You're gonna see this hose sticking out. You just gotta pull that out. Once this guy's out, just running it to this quick connect propane line, which is just like an airline. Pull back on the collar, insert, locked into place, and then you can open up the flow of propane just by turning that, and you have propane up at that grill, and you can turn it on and off. Whenever you're done using it, making sure you close the flow of propane, because with the flow of propane open as an added safety feature, you can't undo that coupler. Close it, pull the collar back, pull back, put the dust cap back on the end, feed it back under through here. Enough so that the drawer is not going to catch it when you slide in. And once that's inside, Push this back in, lock it back in place with that travel lock. Oh, important that you do use the travel lock because trailers do tend to move quite a bit on the roads. So if you're not on that travel lock, you do run the risk of damaging stuff. Grab up. That locks that all into place. It's not going anywhere. Get inside, you're just taking that assist handle, folding it up, locking it in a 90-degree position. Open up this door, you do have to open it fully to get the stairs down. Just grabbing this yellow handle to get those stairs down. The stairs will start coming towards you. You do have adjustable feet for your campsite needs, so you have nice and level stairs. It's just a pin. You gotta remove it, and you can adjust your feet as you need. Campsite. Stepping on inside, first thing you notice off on the left is going to be that fire extinguisher, just like home, hold pin and shoot. The lights inside here, you got a light switch right here, a little entryway light, gives you so you can see your panel. Hit that button down for the main slide out. Before I do that, I should mention, you should always make sure what's on either side of the slide inside and out before you operate it. That way you don't run the risk of damaging anything. But you're just pushing and holding that button. The slide out's going to start making its way out, and once fully extended, you're going to hear the whines and the clicks of the motor. You can also turn on the entryway lights, which turns on a couple lights in this main living space here. So you hear the whine and the clicks of the motor, so you know it's fully extended. Do the same thing on the other side. And then we just have one more bedroom slide up front. And again, just always making sure you're aware of your surroundings when you're operating them. That way you don't run the slide outs into anything. You're going to hear that bedroom slide out coming out now. And it's the same thing. You're going to hear the whine, the clicks, and that's when you know you're fully extended. And there you go. Now you got your awning control. Just push that button up. The awning's going to start making its way out. Once fully extended, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. Whenever you are putting this out, just keep it in mind, whenever you get to about 5-kilometer-an-hour winds, you're going to want to maybe bring it in, or at least keep an eye on it. That way you don't run the risk of bending your arms or ripping your fabric, as this is a big wind sail once those winds pick up. So you see that back of that metal tube. The awning is fully extended. Now you can take any arm, front or rear, and just pull down on it. And it's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to then run off. Now if you like that angle better because it allows for more shade underneath, just doing the same thing with the front arm, but always making sure that you do push them back to straight before you retract the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. And retracting it is just as simple as holding that retract button, making sure it's rolling the right way in. And once those arms contacted the side of the trailer, they would automatically turn off. You do also have an awning light, which is just on the switch here. You got your monitor panel system, so you got your battery, your fresh, black 1, black 2. Black 2, you don't have a second black tank, it's just on there. And then you got gray 1 and gray 2. Gray 1 is going to be your gray. Gray 2 is going to be for that kitchen sink, which is considered the galley. And then you got your water heater options. You got LP gas, turning that on. Turns on your water heater on gas, and turning the electric one on, turns it on electric. You ask the difference. Really is no difference. The only difference being is LP gas is going to heat the water quicker than electric will, but electric is going to be more efficient in the long run. You got a water pump switch, so turning that on draws from your fresh tank. And then you got an exterior light switch option, which turns on just some exterior lights outside the unit. You're going to notice this little controller on the wall, picking that up. That is just for the max air fan. There's probably no batteries in it yet because you're not picking it up. But if you were to turn that button on, it automatically opens up and turns on. You can control the fan speed with these two buttons, and you can control the height of the lid with the plus and minus buttons. And you can also reverse whether the fan is sucking in air or blowing out air, just that button there. Lights, little 120 regular switch here. Turning that on, turns on that ceiling fan located in the living space. And if you come around here, popping this guy open, this does have an extended camping season system in it, so it's got tank heaters. They say it's for extended camping season. Our Manitoba winters get much too cold. It's realistically -5 is like the max you're going to want to use this unit in with water in it. Any colder than that, you do run the risk. any colder than 0, really, you are running the risk of freezing things, so just keep that in mind whenever you are using it. A bunch of light switches here just to turn on a lot of interior lights, accent lights everywhere. There's also a lot of accent lights all over the place. Lots of lighting in this unit, which is very nice. You got your dinette area. Pretty simple. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick retract allows it to come back up. You got your TV. Behind that TV, you got a plug-in. There's also another plug-in in case you would want to hook something else up. You got your sound bar right down below, which is pretty much just like home, minus the fact of having zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 is going to be your interior speakers. Zone 2 will be your exterior speakers. This little switch down here, turn that on. Far right is the power button. The button beside that changes your flame color. One more left of that, so right in the middle changes your rock light color, and then you get to your heat button, which is one in from the furthest left button. You can either turn that on low or high, and then you have a timer which you can set for anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. So it'll automatically kick off after that time limit. Power button on the right to turn it off again. You got your couch in the back here. This is also turned into a bed in case you're have some visitors. Just having to remove those cushions quick. Grab the foot of the couch, pull, folds out, grab your legs, twist them out, and that does fold out into a bed. And then you can fold that backrest down, and it would make yourself a bed. Get it back in is just the same thing. Just folding the legs in, back down, and then just taking your cushions and put them back into place. Adding to the seating area and living space, you do have 2 heated massaging recliners. Very nice feature. Flip this guy open. Nice little compartment inside for storing snacks. And then you get into your living space. GFI plug on the wall here. This is the main GFI plug in the unit. You got test on the left, reset in the middle. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd check, just making sure that that GFI isn't tripped. Because you have propane inside this unit, being that the stove and the furnace both run off propane. You got an LP detector right here near the ground. If that guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane, open up some windows, open up some vents, just to ventilate it out a little bit. You're just getting to a worrisome level. It'll also go off if you use some sort of cleaning products, because some cleaning products have ammonia, so just be mindful of that whenever you're cleaning. Got your kitchen sink, hot and cold water, nice little cover in case you're using the sink. You got your fridge. Controls alt for that are just up top here. You got your fridge section, your freezer section, on-off button. This is also a 12-volt fridge, so it will run whenever you're traveling, as long as you have a 12-volt supply. You got your microwave, which is pretty much just like home. It's also your range hood, so pushing that button once, turn it on high, you can go to low, turn it off light as well. The reason I bring up that is because this runs off propane, so whenever you are running your stove inside, it is a good idea just to turn that fan on, just executing as much of those fumes as possible. To get the stove to light, it's just as simple as turning it to that light, the high option, giving it a second, hitting that igniter. Today it did fire up pretty quick for us, just because I did have the propane system already running today. So sometimes it can take a few minutes, but you do just have to be patient with it, and it'll light eventually. Same thing for the stove, turning that stove light on and igniting, pushing in on this flame option, hit that sparker, and the pilot should light. Once it stays lit on its own, you can turn it up to your desired temperature, and it fires right on up. One thing I will mention though, whenever you are using the stove, the pilot does take a while sometimes, especially if the propane system's been off. Just because of how small of a gas orifice it is, it just takes a few minutes to get all the air out of there. Cabinet door, notice you got a travel latch. Always making sure you do latch that whenever you travel, because it can open, and if you didn't notice it, you could run your slide out into it. And it's just storage space with a plug-in. Right down here, You got your main fuse and breaker panel. Whenever a breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle. You just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. Whenever you have a fuse blow, there'll be a little red indicator light letting you know which one's blown. These little vents right here are just inlets for the air inlets for the furnace. Taking a few steps up, you got your thermostat. So this unit is equipped with 2 ACs. So zone 1 is going to be your main zone, and it's going to operate that rear AC. Turning that on, hitting the button once turns it on. It's going to bring you to the fan setting. Now that's just moving air around with the air conditioner, no heating or cooling involved. You can change your fan speed just by pressing the fan button, and then hitting fan again will change your fan speed. Hitting that power button turns it off, and then you go to mode and you get into between your different modes now. Dry is just essentially the air conditioner kicking in and out as needed to try and take as much humidity out of the air as possible. Auto, so if you have that set, it's going to kick in whatever it feels it needs, depending on what your thermostat's set to. So we currently have it set to 69, but it is only 65 in here, so it just fired up the furnace. One more time, you get into cool. Now whenever you're in that cool section, you got that fan setting. To change the fan speed, you're just pushing the different buttons, and then you're going to notice an A come on. Whenever that A is on, it's automatic, so it becomes an on-demand system. So the air conditioner will kick in and out as needed, depending on what you have the room set to. If you have the fan speed set to a certain speed, it's going to run full time regardless of whatever the room's set to. So just if you do want it to kick in and out as needed, just making sure you leave that fan in the automatic setting, and you should be good to go. Hitting zone will now take you to zone 2. Zone 2 is what your front air conditioner is going to operate off of. You can't, whenever you're zone 2, you can't operate the furnace. Zone 2 is only used to use that front bedroom AC, and it operates the same way. Power button, turn it back off. Another step up, you do get to the bathroom. You're gonna notice you do have another GFI plug to check on the wall here. So again, if you have an outlet that doesn't work, check the one at the kitchen and this one just to make sure nothing's tripped. You got a toilet, pretty simple, straightforward. It's a nice storage space, couple towel hangers. Then you have another vent in here, opening up this guy all the way. You're gonna notice you go straight into the atmosphere. So if it were to start raining, it would get wet in here if you forgot this open, so just be mindful of that. Unless, of course, you went with our max air covers, which a parts department could supply you with. And that just allows you to run that fan whenever you're traveling or whenever it's raining. You don't have to worry about getting wet inside here. Button just to turn that fan on. Last but not least, we're going to take you into the bedroom. Light switch on the wall. You got this little hanger here. This is the emergency exit for inside here. You're just taking that tab, pulling it. This whole screen pops out of place and allow you to push that, and you can hop on out of the unit. Little storage area for clothes. And of course, when you pick up the bed, you do have some more storage space underneath there for blankets or whatever else you'd like to keep under there. You have more lights overhead. The light switch for each individual light is just on either side of the bed. So on both air conditioners, front and rear, you have a couple different options you can run it on. With these louvers closed, it's going to move all its air through the ceiling ducting you see we have throughout the unit. If you were to open up these louvers, it is just going to dump all its air straight out of this vent here. So if you're wanting to cool off one space, that'd be the best way to do it. And then coming to the closet, you also have a TV backer in the bedroom here in case you didn't want to put it on your dresser. You can mount it right here. There is a backer for it. And you got 2 plugins right up top there. Safety latch for these glass mirrors. Again, whenever you're traveling, make sure those latches are latched. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. You do have a light inside the closet. Very nice. And you are pre-plumbed for a washer dryer setup. So if you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact your parts department and we can put something together for you. That's going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.